So at this point you'll see that I removed all the cards from the table and I replaced them with a div with the class name of table. What this div is going to act as is the root for all the cards that we want to render. Now we want to do it dynamically so that way we don't have to copy and paste a whole bunch of oddly shaped divs with subdivs within them. This is where a framework would begin to come in handy when we want to start rendering and unmounting content dynamically. Let's see what we can do with vanilla JavaScript. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a script tag. I'm going to give it a type of text/JavaScript, and then I'm going to give it an src of main.js. I haven't created this file yet, so let's go up to our project directory, create a file called main.js, and just to see that everything works, I'm going to go console.log starting script. Not the most exciting, but yeah, it'll do. I'm going to open up my browser console by pressing Command-Option-C and clicking console, and then I'm going to refresh the page. We see that the console says starting script, which means that the log that we did right here is certainly working. That's pretty good. Let's define what I want to do in this file before I get started with coding. So in comments, here's the boilerplate for what we need to implement. First, we want to select the table div. Then I want to create the card div. Within that card div, I want to create top number div. Then also create bottom number div. So see, with the create card, there's a couple steps involved. With right class. And then I want to append card div to table div. And then once I've done that, I should have a card on the table just like we had earlier. Let's get going. So to do this, I'm going to go document.get elements by class name. And I'm going to say table because we have a class name of table. And get elements by class name returns a list of elements or an array of elements. So I'm going to access the first one with the index 0. I'm going to take the results of that function and assign it to a variable called table. Now let's see if this works. By logging out table. Refreshing the page. See that we have our starting script, so that's good. And then we have the div of table. This is the one that we defined right here in our HTML. So now let's try to create the card div. For this, I'm going to make a function. I'm going to call the function createCard, and for right now, it's just going to take a number. What we want to do in this is I want to go const card equals document.createElement, and this will take the name of the tag, which in this case is just a div. Then I want to take the card and I want to give it a class name of card. So we'll have a card, an outer div with just the class name of card, and then I want to add 2 children to it. The children, one of them is going to have the number, whatever the number we pass to this function, and then no class. The other div is going to have the right class, and then it's going to also have the number. So let's start with the top number. Const top number is documents.createElement div. And then I'm going to also say bottom number is document.create element div, but for this bottom number, I'm going to give it that right class that we defined earlier. At this point, all I have to do is append these to the parent card. So far, this is what it would look like in JavaScript to define that structure that we saw in the previous video. I should be able to run card.append, then pass to it top number, and then a pass to it bottom number, and this should append those divs to this card. Gonna remember to return the card at the end. Now, what did I forget to do? I forgot to give the top number and bottom number divs a child. Well, that's not very good. We need to give it an inner text of the number that we're passing to it. Otherwise, it won't show anything. It will just be an empty div. So bottom number.inner text, top number.inner-text, and then that should do it. Let's run create card, pass it the number 5, and let's just console log what that would look like for now. Refreshing the page, we get, so there's a div class of table, and there's a div class of card. I can expect that, but what I actually want to do is I want to see it on the page. So let's take a card and append it to the table. Let's go table.append child, and then create card 5. Let's see by refreshing the page what that gives us. Oh, that is wonderful, isn't it? It created a card with a 5 on the top left and the 5 on the bottom right. That is not bad at all. Let's do this a couple more times. Let's add a 1, a 3, and a 10. Wow, that is just amazing. I cannot believe it. At this point, I think what I'm actually going to do is... Actually, this would be a good time to just take a break, prepare for the next video. Alright, who's with me? Let's go.